Just so you know, you're kicking it okay. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh, let's go. It's time to turn up your radio. Vibes will flow. Just so you know, you're kicking it okay.
Hey, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in to the Kicking It with K. Marie podcast. Of course, I'm your girl, K. Marie, and welcome. So, for those of you who are watching us for the first time, just to let you know what we are about, we are a podcast for the culture. Here you receive advice, you laugh, you learn, you think. Okay. I have the best of the best coming on the show, experts to in their field to give you what you need so we can grow as a community. Again, I know I have a lot of non people of color that watch and subscribe to our show. So I thank you for doing that. And I know that even though this particular podcast is for my culture, I know that the information that is given, you receive it as well. So thank you. And so, for those who are watching us for the first time, if you have not subscribed, if you have not followed us, what you waiting for? Go ahead and do that. You know, we stream on every streaming platform, such as um, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, all streaming services except for Tidal. Y'all know why. Okay. But thank you so much. And if you want to watch the podcast, you know that we have a Instagram page and a Facebook page, and the handle is at K Marie Podcast. Okay, I'm gonna have a something at the bottom of the screen for those who are watching, so you will see the where we stream, and you'll see our Facebook page, and then you'll see how to connect with us. Okay, so I'll do that in a second. And you know, this is a brand new month, which means that we are doing a brand new series. So it is March. And for March, we're just doing a series called Family Matters because there are family matters. It really does. And I just want to hit certain aspects of the family unit as a community that we need to talk about. And today is no different. So we're going to kick it off today with someone who I've known for a very long time. And this is her first time on my podcast. I was a part of another podcast that you all know of. And she was my guest over there a few times. So, but this is her first time over here. And so I just want you guys just to welcome her with open arms. I know that you will. So, my guest today is Patsy Herndon. She is a licensed professional counselor with over 8 years of experience. She works with all ages and with all diagnoses from bipolar to borderline personalities. She believes that if a person can change the way they think, they can change their behaviors. So, help me welcome Patsy. Hey, Patsy.
Yay! Hello, everyone.
Hey, hey, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I find it an honor to be here.
Oh, I thank you so much because like I was telling those who might be watching for the first time, I like to bring on people who really know their stuff. And you know your stuff, and you are very passionate about what you do. You can tell, and you can tell that this is just something that you were called to do. And I just thank you for coming on here and getting ready to share with everyone that is listening to us about this particular subject.
Yes. hmm For
So,
sure.
but before we get into that particular subject, everybody knows that season 3 we have been doing something a little bit different, and it is called "What in the World." So let me show my little cheesy graphic here. Bam. What in the world? So what in the world is basically is different stories around the world or even national.
Mhm.
There's some crazy stories, odd, that make you say, what in the world? And today I found a story It was from UPI.com. And on February 24th, it was published. It says New York doctors remove a tooth growing inside a man's nose. Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
So,
what in the world?
right. So, just real briefly, it says doctors at a New York hospital said a man who came in complaining of difficulty breathing through his right nostril was found to have a tooth growing in his nasal cavity. The doctor discovered that he had a deviated septum, a condition in which the partition between the nasal passage is pushed to one side, and the rhinoscopy conducted with a small camera discovered the cause: a tooth growing on the floor of the right nostril.
Oh my gosh. What in the world is that all about?
For a few years, just a
Jesus.
tooth just growing. I can't even imagine. I mean, I know that, like, with different pictures that you've seen, and I hate seeing these to make my skin crawl. Like these pictures of like these tumors and stuff that people have, and
Yes.
it's like hair and teeth growing. That's
Yeah.
just that freaks me out. But
And,
but
and I just couldn't imagine because I can only imagine like when you know your wisdom tooth is growing in the back and that painful tension. If it's growing in
yes,
your nostril,
and your nostril.
oh my
That's
God.
yeah. So he's
That is
fine now. They removed it. He's better. He can breathe better. But that's weird.
that is like what do we need to do to make sure another tooth don't grow in my nostrils? That's what I be trying to
Right,
figure out.
right.
Like
Like, how did it get there in the first place?
that's
Like,
right. Exactly.
okay,
Oh my
everyone.
God.
So yeah. So again, today we're going to be talking about and kicking off a new series, Family Matters. And I reached out to Patsy. I might slip and call her Pam, y'all, because I know her as Pam
For many years.
many, many years. But I reached out to Patsy, and I wanted her to speak on kids and dealing with or not dealing with trauma, their own trauma, and how the
Mhm.
family unit is affected um, if it's not, you know, um, handled
Right.
professionally.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I want to just give the credentials. I have worked with adolescents for many, many years and very intense, emotionally, behaviorally disturbed adolescents for many years. And so I know that, especially in our culture, mental health, the stigma is decreasing lately, but it's still there. And
Yeah.
prior to recently, it was really a high stigma that it was like the elephant in the room that no one addressed. And
Hmm.
I've noticed in the, if you know, just in the news, with Regina King, her son committing suicide
Yes.
at 26, and then Miss USA, you've been
Yes.
noticing a lot of people of color um behavior
Dying by
exemptive,
suicide.
yeah,
Yeah.
suicide, which represent there was a mental
Yeah.
disorder there. And so they are starting to speak out a little bit more because we're starting to see the effect of it being swept under the rugs. So a lot of parents, they don't even in our culture don't look at some of the signs that says something's not quite right with my baby. I need to go and get it checked out. And so some of those I'm just going to is plenty signs, but some signs I want you to parents to pay attention to just be educated on some of those signs. You know, feeling like the child is feeling like they're in terror or in constant fear.
Mm.
Um, and which is anxiety, depression, like nightmares, like constant nightmares. They could be dealing with some PTSD, and you're like, oh, they never got raped, they never got beat. But trauma comes from neglect, car accidents, grandma, grandpa dying suddenly. That's all trauma for a child. Changing their eating habits, eating less, eating more, not really wanting to spend time with their friends, trouble forming attachment relationships. Like they really don't attached to grandma, mommy, daddy, siblings, friends. They have no attachment. Difficult trusting other people, difficult concentrating or paying attention. And also a regression in skills that they have mastered. For
Mm.
example, if you are a 9-year old and you mastered two-digit mathematics and you act like you can't even add 1 plus 2, that's a sign
Mm.
something's going on. Or poor academic performance, heart pounding, vomiting, such as their bladder can't control their urine, that they're constantly urinating on themselves. That could be a
Mm.
sign of some sexual abuse. Definitely substance use, and substance abuse is a big sign that there's a mental disorder or trauma. um Enjoying sexual activities and being promiscuous, like your 15-year-old just going out there and just having sex with anybody, that's a
Mhm.
sign. And definitely risky behavior, driving 60 miles per hour in a 20 mile per hour area.
Mhm.
Just those risky behaviors are all signs. Those are signs that we might just say, oh, they're just being teenagers. Oh my God, that's just a
Mhm.
kid. They don't really, but we have to sit back. I'm not saying the first sign you see that as parents, okay, let me sign you up for a psychiatrist. Let me find you a therapist. You sit back and observe. You start to notice, is this a pattern? Is this something else going on? Are they doing this in other places? Is this just at home? Or, talk to the teachers. Are they presenting these type of behaviors at school as well? And then when you start to see a pattern, you start to see things are, this is constant. Talk to your child, like, I've been noticing A, B, C, D, and F, and it's just concerning me. I just want us to go talk to somebody to make sure we're healthy as a family. Um, and send your child to go talk to somebody, because you're
Mhm.
not the professional. You don't know
Right.
everything. You just know something ain't right with my baby.
Right. So Patsy, just before you really get into the meat, um, and I know we take a lot of things for granted, like, oh, people should know this, but just in case, just can you just give us a definition of, you kind of briefly did, but just a definition of trauma?
Okay. Yes. Trauma is any situation that a person may experience that brings a negative effect. So it could be, as I said briefly earlier, a sudden death of a close grandparent, a car accident. It brings terror and fear, that they might experience. It could be the neglect of a parent, the abandonment of a parent, of obviously physical abuse. Um, there could be sexual abuse. I have even poverty is a trauma. There
Mm.
is, I supervise clinicians that's trying to get licensed, and one of
Mhm.
my cases, consultations with my supervisee, was a child that was dealing with poverty trauma, and his trauma
Mhm.
is his mom always had him in lack. Like he lacked the name brand shoes,
Yeah.
lacked food, lacked the car, lacked a place to stay. And then attached to that poverty was bullying, because you don't have the
Mm.
shoes that everybody else have. You don't have the clothes. And so he has such a fear of lacking that he will work. In high school, go to high school and work 20, 30 hours a week if he have
Mm.
to, so he won't lack. But his trauma is poverty. He's afraid that he will lose what he has. He's afraid that he'll lack again. So it's trauma
Wow,
is
you know
many
what? You say
negative.
that it's a lot of people too that I hear, that I follow and stuff like that, who are, they're well off, but they have this issue. They say that, and they even acknowledge that they can have, like I said, they can be rich, wealthy, whatever, but they still have that mindset. I'm like, wow.
Hmm. Yeah, they have that fear. I had a friend that grew up poverty, and she is a engineer at the big three. So
Mm.
she's making well over six figures, but
Mhm.
she was afraid to spend. And
Mm.
because you work hard, you deserve a few
Yeah, you gonna
things.
work hard, play hard.
You
That's
work
my
hard,
motto.
but she was afraid to spend because she thought she was going to go back to being on assistance and getting food assistance.
Mm.
And that is a mindset that's called dealing with your trauma. And you have to work on getting grounded, that you're not in that place anymore. Like you're in a safe place right now, so you can make a right now decision instead of
Yeah.
still being that 12-year-old or that 6-year-old that was, scrapping for some oatmeal because that's all you
Yeah.
had in the home. So that's any negative event that occurred to you that negatively impacted your life.
So, how early can a child exhibit that something is wrong with them?
A child can exhibit as early as 3 years old. I've had a
Mm.
3, 4-year-old patient. Now the signs look different. The
Okay.
symptoms look different in a child than it does in an adult. A child might cry a lot. That 3-year-old might cry a lot. The 3-year-old might be clingy a lot. You might like, why you can't sleep in your own room? You're always coming in my room. That could be a sign of trauma for a child. A child could be that they're urinating on themselves constantly. And I potty trained you. I know you know what you're doing, but that
Yeah.
could be
If
a
it's
sign.
not a medical issue.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not a
Yeah.
medical, that's what I'm saying. Like you've trained them, they've been
Yeah.
sufficient, and they've been, well on their way of doing this. And now you notice there's a reversal. Like that's
Mm.
a young child, because they can't articulate their emotions very well. It comes out in symptoms and not paying attention in class, misbehaving in school, not following the rules. That could all be signs that my baby could be dealing with some trauma, and a lot of us, when I say us of color,
Yeah.
don't recognize, there are academic mental illness, just dyslexia, there's
Hmm.
ADHD, and we just think that the child is acting bad in school. Oh my God, they know it better to go to school to embarrass me, and the teacher told them to sit
Yeah.
down and be quiet, and they talking and they're not doing their work. Oh, I'm gonna beat their tail when they get home. And you
Hmm.
beat their tail for 7 days, and then another 7 days, and another 7 days, and nothing changed. But
Yeah.
the child got ADHD. The child is dyslexia, and you're not handling the issues, which both can be managed.
Hmm.
They can allow the child to have a successful academic career and a successful life. However, if you do not handle it, just ADHD, dyslexia, if you don't handle and get them the proper treatment, they're going to be your 12, 13-year old suspended from school 300 times in one school year, put into alternative school, drop out of school, and be selling drugs on the street because they
Hmm.
are so behind because they did not get the accommodations they need. Because a dyslexic person can learn just like any other, they just
Yeah.
learn differently. And so, go ahead.
How can you with this Lexia? How can you what are some of the signs for that? I mean, I know like you read stuff backwards, but
Mhm. A lot of it is the writing, even not just reading backwards, but the writing. They might write um, 23 and they might be 3-2, like just the writing backwards. And then they might, their comprehension of stuff might be a little off. It's somewhat there, but it's a little off. And it's like, something isn't quite right. So I know someone that was severely dyslexic, but they thought he was just a bad kid. And
mm,
so mom pushed the school to, figure out what is going on.
yeah, yeah,
And that's what they came to find out. And they had to color coordinate stuff so that he could focus just on that to learn it. But he learned, graduated from high school, went to college. That's how he
hmm,
studied in college, was color coordinated index cards, and
yeah. I think
highlighters.
the first time we heard about that was from the Cosby Show when Theo.
Yes, there you go. Yes, yes. So things are like that, or ADHD. And I always tell parents with ADHD, it's like, I don't need to put my kid just need to sit down and just learn. And I'm not putting them on no medication, which is
Yeah.
fine. This is all your rights as a parent. But this is what I want you to think about when you're trying to study. Say when you were in college and you're trying to study, or you're trying to concentrate on your favorite show on TV, and there's constantly noise, the kids are screaming, the other room have music going all day long, the neighbors are constantly ringing your doorbell, and then you have husband in the other room talking on the phone, all at the same time while you're trying to concentrate on studying for your statistic exam or concentrate on your favorite TV show. Now you're freaking out in that moment, right? You're like,
Hmm.
be quiet, stop, da, da, da. Now that kid has that every day while the teacher's trying to teach how to do 1 + 1 or 2 x 2.
Oh wow.
Now you tell me if they can just sit there and learn
No.
without any assistance.
Hmm.
No, you can't. Give them some help so they can now be in position that they can say, let me focus.
So what if, and you brought up a good point, what if the parent doesn't want to put their child on medication?
Which a lot don't. They try a lot of natural reasons, which naturally there are some things that help reduce the gluten free, sugar, of course. Those
Yes.
things does they
Heighten it.
do have,
Yeah.
yeah, they heighten it. However, if you don't put your child on medication, you got to make sure you bring some true accommodations, such as your child, maybe you put your child in a private school where there's less kids. There's not 30 kids. There might be 10 or 15 kids. You make sure when you come home, you exert your child energy by you definitely take them out to the park, you definitely go for a run, you provide activity in their life, and then you provide the environment that is safe, that is calm, that is quiet for them to study and do their homework. And you might have to, you'll be the one that's very involved, that we're going to
Hmm.
work and study for 45 minutes, and then you got to give your child a break to clear their mind and do whatever they want to do for 15 minutes. Then we come back and finish up another 45 or 30 minutes. So you're going to have to be a parent that is really, and which is no problem with a parent that is truly
Yeah,
involved and is
involved.
going to work, which is not a whole lot of our parents.
Yeah, and because it's not something that, because the child is going to get older and become an adult, so it's not something that, or is it something that they can grow out of? Is that something, or that
I
stays?
have a 55-year-old man that is on Ritalin. Very
Wow.
successful man, very extremely successful, technology, everything, very successful. But he is on Ritalin so he can focus. I had a 70
Okay.
something year old woman that is ADHD.
Okay.
The
So it is okay.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, you remember life evolves.
Yeah.
So you no longer have to, at 77, you retire. You no longer have to concentrate only when you want to concentrate. So you might not be on medication unless you work everybody else's nerve because you're all over the place. However, but you don't have to take it because there's no need for you to sit and have to focus. But if you want to probably have company and people enjoy being around you might want to take some
Okay,
medication.
I got you. Okay, so we talking about like some of the signs from like a very young child. Now, do those signs vary like from a very small child to like a preteen to like a teen, or are they pretty much the same?
Well, a young child, as I said, there's is very limited,
Hmm.
more of the detachment, the
Yeah.
crying, or the clinginess. Now let's go to the preteen stage. Now, what get mixed and mingled is just the preteen hormonal behavior, such
Hmm.
as I don't want to
Puberty and
be
all that kind
around,
of stuff.
yeah, I don't want to be around mom and daddy. Oh my God, mom and dad is not cool. Oh my God, why are you talking to me like that, mommy? That
Yeah.
disobedient kind of thing. We get it kind of enmeshed, but we got to be mindful that we don't do that because those are that rebellions, that that sense of I'm not valued, oh, the little girls go through that stage that they don't think that they're pretty anymore, things of that nature. Not valued, that they don't think that they're pretty, they're not accepted. Oh, and the friends don't like me. Oh, and that's just the stage you're going through. But a lot of that are the signs. You got to be able to, that's why you got to be in tune with your kids, because you got to be able to know the difference between it's just normal teenager things that kids go
Hmm.
through and grow and develop, as then opposed to this is my child is dealing with some anxiety, my child is dealing with some pressure, your child is always isolated, um
Hmm.
very isolated, don't want to talk to anybody, wearing another sign, because we got to look out as parents, is for some self-harming behaviors. The cutting, they're always wearing long sleeve shirts and it's 90 degrees outside, sweatshirts, hoodies. Now there's some people that's their style,
Yeah.
but be mindful. On the other hand, make sure your child, be in tune with your child and make sure they're not covering up stuff. They're always sleeping a lot. Now, there's a level that teenagers sleep, but they're always sleeping a lot. And friends ask them to go somewhere, they don't want to go. They were very academically successful, straight A and B students. They turned 14, the grades began to drop. They began to struggle in school. They began to get suspended from school. Behavioral things began to change. They began to become disobedient to your
Mhm.
rules. Like those are all signs for the teenager years that your child could be dealing with some depression, some trauma, some anxiety.
So what? Okay, so what can be what? Okay, okay, Kalani, form your words. What are some things that can happen if the trauma goes unchecked?
So, if the trauma goes unchecked, the future is very challenging. Um, some of it is definitely suicide, suicidal ideation, suicide attempts comes into play, and then drugs, because they gotta find. You gotta remember, the body is going to figure out how to cope,
Hmm.
because it's going to figure out how to cope when it's too much, right? And it's just a matter of the body figuring out the healthy way to cope. So self-harming is a way. People are not trying to kill themselves when they self-harm, when they cut themselves, but it can kill themselves because they can cut an artery
Yeah.
and die. But they're coping, they're relieving some stress, they're relieving some pressure, they feel relieved when that cut happens or when they burn themselves. Suicide, they figure like that's a way to cope out of the overwhelming stress they have. Drugs, I get to escape for 5 minutes from the pressure, from the trauma, from the nightmares and flashbacks that I'm constantly having, or whatever so negative that's going on in the home. I get to escape from it. So drugs. And then another thing is, I know people don't like to hear this, but they can join gangs
Mm.
because they feel accepted, they feel wanted, and guess what? They feel like it's their normal. It's normal because guess what? The people in the gang, they look just like them.
Yeah.
They're dealing with everything they dealing with and more.
Yeah.
So they're normalized in their thinking, in their behavior. So, and then as we go past the teenagers years and it's untreated, let's look at adulthood. Because there are some people that their coping skill is avoidance, which
Mm.
mean they act like these feelings, they numb themselves to those feelings. They put them in the freezer and let them go real frozen. Okay.
Hmm.
But guess what? You got to open that freezer one day and you
Yeah.
trying to get the chicken wings and that thing fall out and start defrosting. Okay. And your whole
Mm.
world fall to pieces. So we go into adulthood because you avoided all those experiences because you overcompensated and became extremely successful academically. You were a 4.0 student. You went to college. You got a full ride to college and you excelled you was a track student, like you excelled academically. Oh, and you're the top of the ladder in your career. You overcompensate until
Mm.
you decide, guess what? I want to invite some people into my world. I want to date. I want to get married. I want to have some children. And then, because that requires vulnerability, that requires the unthawing of those feelings. And so then you start to recognize you can't trust people. Then you start to recognize that you are paranoid. Then you start to recognize that, oh my gosh, that I am very depressed. I'm very moody. My moody is totally dysregulated. If they say one thing, I snap at them, and then it's a whole argument. I had
So
a
basically, you could be in a relationship with someone, and um because they're snapping at you and they're doing this and that, and you're thinking like, oh my god, it is really argumentative, but that
right.
could be some trauma that they haven't dealt with.
Mm-hmm. I have a participant. I had a participant that had, when I say extreme trauma, but extremely successful, extremely successful. But she was trying to start trauma therapy, EMDR therapy, because it was so extensive and over so many years. And she numbed it because when you numb stuff, it becomes into your subconscious that you be like, oh, I really
Mhm.
don't remember what happened. So MDR is a really good technique to utilize for those type of traumas. And she was trying it, and she was becoming a very evil person. She would sit in the room, in the middle of the room, and just cry, and very evil to her boyfriend. And he was like, "What is going on with you? What is wrong with you?" Because he never seen it. He's been dating her for 2 years.
Wow.
And she decided, I need to tap into this. What's going on with me? Because she know it's been hidden, and it scared her. So she stopped it. And I convinced her that she needs to go back in and open that door because it follows you.
Yeah.
It don't go away.
So, okay, so a parent could be listening to us and they might notice some things like, okay, that's kind of sound like my child.
Hmm.
So, what steps can they take to get help for their child?
I would definitely say find you a therapist
Hmm.
ASAP. But I do want to give them the NASB, which is our National Alliance Mental Illness
Hmm.
organization, and it can give you a wealth. I'm about to give you the number right about now, but it gives you a wealth of resources. You tell them what is going on. They can give you support groups. Because sometimes with teenagers, it does support groups works a little bit better as a door open than individual therapy.
Okay.
And if they go to like a group where they hear people that have some of the same
Hmm.
situations, and one other thing before I do this, another thing I want to tell those parents, they think that if I get them in a group, oh my God, they're gonna learn worse things than what they're doing right now, and then oh my God, they're just self-harming, now they're gonna learn suicide attempts. And I just want you to know, if you stay on that journey, your kids gonna learn. They're going to escalate because the self harming. When you're dealing with depression and is unresolved depression, it can almost go. Okay, so what I told, I've been Miss Kay was talking before we came on, and
Yeah.
I was just telling her about it's a chemical called oxytocin, which is OXYTOCIN. You can look it up, but it's a hormone that is developed even through conception, while the mom is carrying the baby, as the child grows up. It's a chemical that's developed. And if the child start to experience some negative experiences, such as they could be experiencing domestic violence in the home, being sexually abused as a child, physical abuse, neglect, abandonment, that oxytocin chemical development is slowed down. And that hormone is called hormone, which it helps you to figure out how to handle stress. And
Hmm.
that chemical can actually develop. There's people, because you see people every day that have, once they tell you their story, we know Jesus is definitely one that can help us. But when they tell you their story, you're like, oh my gosh, how are you here today? And
Yes.
they may have developed, they have had a sense of a strong oxytocin chemical developed that they can create healthy ways to manage stress. But when that opportunity is constantly disturbed because they're constantly experiencing trauma and stress, it never develops to where it should be, that when stress happens, that they can handle it appropriately. But then when it's not developed, they go and figure out, the body is going to figure out a way to get this
Yeah.
uncomfortable, overwhelming feeling to subside, even if it's just for 5 minutes. It's going to figure out a way. So, with that being said, um, parents, if you don't go get your child help, they're going to, because the stress of life is going to heighten, because as you keep living, stress heighten. Your job stress increase,
Yeah.
relationship increase, you become a parent, that's another level of stress. So it's best to get them the help why it's manageable, where the stress is maybe just school and peers. It's not the stress of being able to take care of themselves, and the stress
Mm.
of, having a child that they're responsible for. So while they're young and a teenager, get them the help where there's a level of manageable stress. So I want to throw out give them the NSB, the National Alliance for Mental Health number,
Okay.
and that number is, as soon as my phone gives me the number, it's thinking. Okay. I need the national number. Let me see here. There we go. Um, Here we go. The national number is 1-800-950-6264. Once again,
Okay.
is 800-950-6264. And you can also call that number in chat. And as
And
parents,
I'm gonna have the number in the episode description.
okay, good. And as parents, I want to talk to parents too, because we're talking about family matters. This is a family affair. It's not just
Mhm.
the child that is dealing with the trauma. It's not the child just dealing with the abandonment. And parents, we think that if it's not a big thing, my child hasn't been physically abused, my child hasn't been sexually abused, but their father is not active in their lives. Their mother is not active in their lives. That means a lot. You might be an amazing parent, but that still means so much to that child because they want both their parents.
Mhm.
As ridiculous as the mom may be, as horrible as the dad may be, they want both their parents. And that child internalizes that parent that's not in their lives and figure like they're not good enough. They feel like I am, I'm rejected. So if my own mommy rejected me, if my own dad rejected me, why wouldn't everybody else reject me? And if you don't teach, or not teach, but process with that child on the rejection, that child is not going to be able to handle the rejection of life, because
That's
life is going
good.
to happen. You're going to go through an
Mhm.
interview and get rejected. You're not going to
Mhm.
get every job you go for an interview.
Mhm.
But then they don't handle that rejection as a child from their parents. They go to that job interview and get rejected. Now they're getting back into internalizing, and then that's, you might end up, I know it sounds ridiculous, but you end up with that, oh, I got the bottle of vodka at home,
Yeah.
I got that weed at home, I got that crack at home, it don't reject me.
Yeah.
So you go home to what don't reject you. Or you got that girlfriend or wife that you made afraid of you by beating her. She not gonna reject you because you beat her and control her, that I can go get what I can control. So it's no such thing as a little thing as a
Right.
child. Every little piece makes that child a healthy adult.
And you know what? And I thought, because like my bio dad wasn't in my life like that.
Mhm,
Like my brother's father, he really he's like my father, because he was
mhm,
there, when shoot, he was there when I was little, before my brother was born. So,
mhm,
um, but and I had my grandfather too. So, I wasn't like that promiscuous, trying to find a, father figure type person or the adult growing up. But I did notice like a pattern with me when it comes to men and attention. Like,
mhm,
this not just any man, like I wasn't like I didn't like attention to be put on me per se, but I don't know, like if a guy I was interested in or something like that, you know, um, uh, I don't know. I just really like wanted his attention. And like I said, I noticed it was like years ago when I noticed like a pattern. I asked, because I am a Christian, and I asked
right,
God, I was like, "What is this?" And He just
mhm,
broke it down, like, you know, um, that comes because you didn't get that from your father.
mhm, mhm,
I was
mhm.
like, like I said, I'm all good now, but I really, I noticed it. Like, what? How come I keep seeking this? What's going on? So, it may
Yeah.
not it may not shown up in another way, but another way it did. So I see the
Yes.
importance of
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
And another thing, the role that parents play, they are affirmers. That is your first
Mm,
line of affirmation. If you knew everybody in the world rejected you, your parents gonna say, "Baby, you can sing. I listen to you all day. Play that violin." And you probably sound crappy,
right.
but your parents are your first zone of affirmation. And when you don't have that, what you're going to search, because our human nature, we are designed to be affirmed. we're going to search for it. It's not that
Mhm.
you wanted every man to want and date and go out with. You just want them to say you're, a certain caliber, you're pretty. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you're amazing. You wanted to hear that because that's what mommy's supposed to do. I have a client that is in her, I want to say 40s, very successful girl, lady, married, 2 kids. But do you know what she has in the back of her mind? Because her mom was not there. Her mom didn't raise her, grandma raised her.
Mhm.
She's afraid that she's going to be a horrible mother, and she's an amazing mother. She has that fear. It can almost overtake her, that fear of, I just got to be the best mom. I got to be the best mom.
Yeah.
I got to be the best mom. And it's like, that's a lot of pressure on yourself because you won't
Yeah.
allow yourself to make a mistake as a mom. And you just,
Mhm.
I mean, you're human. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to be like,
Yeah.
baby, mommy, sorry. Because mommy just made a mistake,
Right. You don't know
And it's
everything.
right. And it's okay. But you can't, you're not getting this because you are so afraid of being your mom that you can't. You leave yourself no space.
Yeah. So that girl, this was good. And I know it's like so much, but
Yeah,
this
it
is
is.
just
It's a lot.
I know it's a lot, but this is just, enough to
Mm-hmm.
to the parents. Like if you are suspecting that some trauma is going
Mm-hmm.
on with their child at a young age, at an adolescent age, at a teenage age, get the help that they need and don't let it go unchecked because it can affect the
Yes.
whole family unit. So
Exactly. Please do not be afraid of professional help. That does not mean, as we would say in our community, you crazy, you going to the nut house. No, it just means you need to sort out some things and
mhm.
put it all on a plate and see what your options are on how to deal with it.
Amen. Look, amen. So, all right, Patsy, thank you
Okay, Jazz.
so
Pleasure.
much. Do you do I couldn't recall. Do you do virtual
I,
appointments?
I do. I am in the process of working to get on some insurance panels. A lot
Okay.
of I do a couple now. They're self pay, but I'm working on that. I'm in the process of
Okay.
now getting on those insurance panels to be virtual. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
So thank you so
Thank
much. This
you.
was so needed in our community,
Yes.
and you all. So, like I said, this series is something that it was just on my heart, and
Hmm.
we're going to tackle different relationships of the family, like mother-daughter relationships,
Hmm.
dating. If you're a single parent, dating, and even this is other aspects of the family. So
Exactly. It's so
everything that
important.
is so important. So thank you.
Yes,
You
yes.
all subscribe. Don't forget to share. If you know someone that is probably going through this, or you suspect that they're going through this, let
Hmm.
them see this. Let them see this. Let they listen
Hmm.
to this. This is some good information because I'm sure you want to save your child's life
That's
or
right.
a child that you love. Life.
Hmm.
So get
Hmm.
that child some help. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you guys.
thank you. And we will don't hang up yet,
Okay.
Pam. And
Okay.
I will see the rest of you all next week with a brand new episode of Family Matters. And we're just gonna go there. Okay. All
Yay.
right. Bye
Bye.
everybody.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. It's time to turn up your radio. Turn up the radio. Just so you know, you're kicking it with K. That's all I'm gonna say. You're here now.